Good morning, everyone. Futures Brizio here, 10:40 a.m. on Tuesday, February 24th. Hope everybody's doing great. And we're going to just jump right in a second here. A little bit different today in terms of some of the markets. And I'll talk a little bit about what I'm thinking here. So before we get started, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Any questions, comments, leave them down below. Uh, did want to point out I got a new microphone, real high tech now. I got a nice Shure microphone and retired my old gaming mic. And so hopefully it sounds good. It does in some of the settings I put in here this morning. It sounded like it was pretty good. So not that that's going to improve your trading at all, but just in terms of YouTube, I just want to make sure that I had the a decent sound anyway. So we'll just jump right in here. In regards to futures, as you guys know, I primarily just trading grain markets, which is what I usually talk about. Um, However, I went and put up currency futures on my watch list here. Now, being sorry guys, I had to interrupt the video for a second. So in terms of trading futures, like I said, I decided to add since I've mentioned on the channel that I'm trading Forex a little bit too again on a funded account, and also like I mentioned last week, I started a small personal account as well. I thought it might be helpful to add currency futures to my watch list here for futures. So that's what all of these seven are right here. Whoops, yeah, these seven right here. So I have my my grain markets that I talk about all the time, and I added currency futures. And so the crazy regulatory environment in the U.S. is you can't trade U.S. dollar futures, but you can trade the other seven, which is just makes no sense to me, but whatever. So you've got the British pound, the euro, Aussie, New Zealand, Swiss franc, Japanese yen, Canadian dollar. So that's the seven you can trade. That's what these six, all these ones that begin with six. So these are currency futures. They're not pairs. So this is just the British pound futures, just the euro. And the reason why I thought about doing this is because if I'm already trading Forex, even though Forex is traded in pairs and Forex is spot market, it's not futures. But um, if there's particular direction in the currency futures, looking at the single currency, in this case, what you're looking at now is the British pound, then if I go to Forex so in other words, if I'm seeing a potential, say in this case, potential beginning of an uptrend on the British pound, then when I go over to my Forex pairs, then I'm going to go in with that bias that the spot market probably is also going to be showing potential long setups, or at least my bias would be, looking at longs in British pound futures. So the pound versus whatever, or if it's like Euro GBP, then you'd be looking for a downtrend, right? Because the pound would be the second currency, but I actually really don't trade Euro GBP anyway. So it'd be like pound pair. So the pound dollar, pound yen, pound Aussie, pound Kiwi, etc. And so that's what uh, kind of what my thought process is that since I'm already looking at forex pairs, looking at the futures, and especially the individual forex, the individual currencies, even though again these are futures and not spot market the way forex is, they're still very closely correlated. Okay, and the movement in the futures market is for a particular currency is probably going to translate into the forex market, not tick for tick or pip for pip, but pretty close. And so we're going to take a look at that. So you can see I'm in a long position right now on British pound, and basically this is the daily chart we're looking at here, which again, kind of like forex, I tend to trade these on higher time frames. I may go to a short time frame like a 4-hour chart to look for an entry. But my most of my analysis on all these markets now are on high time frames. I've really gotten away from trading anything on short time frames. So 10, 12 daily chart, somewhere in there, 10-hour, 12-hour daily chart. And yes, I do take a peek at the weekly and monthly sometimes just to make sure we're not running into a really like major long-term high or low point, support or resistance area on the really high time frames, that you maybe can't see on the shorter time frames. You zoom out and you're like, whoa, I'm going to take a long, but price is already slamming into a major structural high or previous resistance high that you may want to think twice about taking those positions. And so, anyway, so this is the pound, and it's a pretty basic setup here. I do have the stochastic RSI on down here, and this I'm using primarily on these longer time frames. But you can see here, we have this nice little uptrend going. We had this really nice pullback, and this big push up here back. What is this? About 3 weeks ago that we put in this low, went up, made this high. Um, Around well, actually no, this was about 3 weeks ago. This high was put in. This original move was over a month, or about a month ago or so. And so now we've come back down here, and we're heading back towards this low. Of course, this is to me is key structure right here. And I'm also using regular candlesticks at the moment too. I know I told you I use Hikanashi too, and I certainly could go back and forth, but at the moment I'm looking at regular candlesticks. And if I zoom in and look at the stochastic RSI, you can see this move back down. Price came all the way back down here into the oversold position, if you want to call that. And does look like it's trying to turn and come out of this zone and move up. So not that the indicator signals are always accurate, but it does kind of line up with the fact that this is a bullish move that broke structure, made new highs, and now has come back. And as long as this area is maintained, anything above this yellow line is basically a pullback in an uptrend. And the one thing about the indicator that's actually pretty nice in terms of calling signals is you can see right here. Now, of course, you could have traded this. This is a daily chart, but you can see this bullish candle right here, followed by another one. This was about 2 weeks ago. You can see where this came up here for a couple of days. But if you look at the indicator, it didn't give you that signal. In fact, at the time that these two bull candles were put in, the stochastic RSI was still trending down and pointing down. It was not in the oversold area, and it was still trending down. So again, I know the comments say, well, you certainly could have traded that. And yes, you could have. I didn't because I wasn't watching these assets at that time. But on shorter time frames, these are certainly tradable moves. So your trade entries have to be based on what time frame you're looking at, right? So if you're trading on a daily chart, then you're trading on a daily chart, right? So that's what your decisions are going to be based on, trading on that higher time frame. If you're looking at trading on a longer time frame or a shorter time frame, then yeah, there probably certainly were trades within this area right here. I mean, even if on the 4-hour chart, here's that here's that move on the 4-hour chart. And maybe there was like two trades here long, because you had the initial pull out of this area. If you didn't take this, then you had this little pullback, and you had this one move up, and you had another pullback, and then another move up. So essentially, you could have gotten probably this move and this move, which would have gotten you back to around this other high, and then the market sold off again. And then obviously even shorter time frames, there would be even more within this area right here. Okay. So I get the fact that, you still could have traded that. But again, you have to decide what time frame your analysis is going to be done on. And I just choose to use longer time frames. And I rather just wait and not do anything. And then once I do decide to get into a trade, I'm just going to commit to it and hold it and just let it go. So if this current trade works out, and I don't know if it will, I mean, this could easily turn around and keep going down, and I get knocked out of it. You can see I have a pretty tight stop loss underneath this current daily candle, because if it does go down and breaks this candle and goes low, I don't want to be in the trade. There's no point me even putting my stop underneath these two lows here, because if this uptrend is going to now resume, this one candle should be enough. This is a daily candle. It's not like this is a 1 hour candle. This is a daily candle. So this is gives me plenty to, in my opinion, plenty of room, because again, if it rolls over and takes out and starts going lower from this candle, I don't want to be in it anyways. It just means I was wrong, and that's fine. So, but if I'm right and this thing keeps going, then this is a trade potentially I can hold for a long time. I mean, because chances are it's going to come all the way back at least to these highs. This is a trade potentially, you could be in for days and days, if not weeks, right? So, anyway, so we'll see how that works out. So if we just take a quick look, the euro is very, very, very similar. Just like euro pairs and GBP pairs are very similar in how they look. Like the euro dollar and the pound US dollar forex pairs are going to look very, very, very similar. They're very closely correlated. Well, it's the same thing here with the currency futures. The British pound and the euro are very similar. Now we have a little bit different look here on the euro, which is an interesting fact that it looks like the pound wants to try to go up again. We don't really have that buying momentum right now on the euro. Now maybe we will get it. The stochastic indicator is also still down in the oversold area here, and looks like it's trying to start to bend back up. But we don't have any really bullish price action here. Um, so we'll see which one turns out to be right. Because like I said, they move pretty close in tandem with each other. So if my pound trade is correct, then eventually this euro will catch up and it'll start to move higher. But if the euro is right, then my pound trade ultimately will fail. So I mean that's just the way it is, because they are very closely correlated. Like I said, they don't move tick for tick for sure. They are two different currencies, but they are very closely correlated, which is why they look very, very similar on the chart. Um, the Australian dollar is in a little bit of a consolidation after this last pop up here. We've been trading, pretty much sideways here for quite a while. Overall, though, still probably bullish this market. Again, we peak out at a higher time frame. We are sitting. We did come up and meet this old high way back here. I don't know how much significance this has. This high was back in 2023. Do I care about an old high from literally 3 years ago? Probably not so much, to be honest. Um, I'd be more interested in this monthly high. If I go out to the monthly chart that goes back to 2021 back here, I'd be more interested in price getting up to this level, because if you look left, this level also was a very similar resistance area for at least three other times, going all the way back to 2015. So I would expect that if this is going to continue higher, these are probably more viable areas to look at than this weekly high right here, which is just part of this overall downtrend from the monthly chart. So, but anyways, the bottom line is still bullish in that market. Here's the New Zealand dollar. It's similar. It's just more pronounced in terms of this corrective price action. It's a lot more volatile than the New Zealand than the Australian dollar, which you can see it's in that same kind of corrective pattern, but it's just not as violent. We don't have these like giant swings up and then down. And in a way, the New Zealand dollar is kind of like the British pound trade, right? We had price going down, then we had those two bullish days right here. We did not get a signal on the stochastic RSI during that time. So again, same thing. These two candles were tradable on a shorter time frame for sure. But if you're looking at the daily chart for your analysis, then you know if you're using the stochastic RSI as a confirmation signal, you would not have taken this trade. But if you did take it, let's say you went long at the, somewhere in here, it did go up for another day, but then it quickly rolled over. So, you would have had to have been careful to not, uh, be have your profits stolen from you when this thing rolls over and went back down. So again, this is tradable, but again, depending what time frame you're using, you may not have taken this. Obviously, again, I didn't, because I wasn't trading these back then. Uh, Plus, if I'm going to, you know, trust what the indicator is telling me, then the indicator is saying this is a false breakout, which it turned out it was. And prices now come back down, and now we're in the oversold area. So it's probably pretty similar to the Aussie. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the monthly chart, uh, we have this monthly high again, pretty much in the same spot as the Australian dollar. Okay. So I'll be watching these for potential turns to see if we can get some bullish momentum back to the upside. Swiss franc is a little is similar. Okay, all these things are just kind of like churning right now. Now the Swiss franc, if you go out to the monthly chart, uh, does have a little bit of a concern for me, where we had this huge wick. The price is approaching this high that was put in way back in 2011. So, again, how much weight do you put into something that happened 15 years ago? Because that's literally, this candle was 15 years ago. Well, not quite, but 14 and a half years ago, August of 2011. So I don't know how much really that weighs into it, but long-term chart traders see that area too, and target it for take profit areas. And so anywhere in here I would expect a pullback, but so I'd be a little cautious about a long-term long here, but certainly again, this is a monthly chart, and it certainly has more potential to go higher. But we'll see. Or of course, the alternate, and we'll find out, is that, if this turns out to be, kind of a lower high, and price starts putting in a downtrending market, then that would be something different. But again, we still, like the other currencies, we have a structure level sitting right here that's still valid. And so any movement down here really is just corrective, even if this continues to go lower, as long as this area is held on the daily chart. To me, this is still in an uptrend. All right. Japanese yen was in a really nice downtrend for a while, you can see. And now it's kind of a little bit, undecided. So yen pairs, you can see, look a lot like this too. And, we basically made this low. We came in. We did take out a structure here on the daily chart. We took out this swing because this swing led to a new low. And then we came down, just pretty violent, right? It went up, took out structure, came all the way back down, tried to come up, failed, came back maybe to about the same level, and now it's down again. So I'm not doing anything with this until this kind of proves what it wants to do. Does it want to go lower or not? Um, if we go all the way out to the monthly chart again, um, we don't have these are the lowest prices we've seen on the Japanese yen as far back as least as my data shows in trading view here, which is back to 25 years ago, right? These are the lowest prices we've had. So it'll be interesting to see if it can go any lower than this, or if we're going to get a bounce and start moving higher. So a little bit unsure right now. It's pretty wild price action. You can tell there's huge volatility going on right now at these levels, and so I just assume not trade it until I'm a little more sure about what exactly this wants to do. So that's that. And lastly, on the Canadian dollar, I want to take this alert off of here right now. So the Canadian dollar is one that I had been following before. Again, repeating the same type of thing. We have structure level here. We do have price heading down, right? So we put in this new high, came down, tried to go up again, failed, lower high, and now moving down. But again, as long as this area is maintained, then this is our key structure level on the daily chart. Then I would expect that anything coming down here would eventually turn and go back higher, but we'll see, right? Um, higher time frame. Here's the monthly chart. And again, I've talked about this before. We have this kind of like triple bottom here on the monthly chart, where prices come down to about these current levels for about the last 10 years. This would be the third time it's touched it. This was earlier this month right here. Uh, No, excuse me, this was, February of last year, so this goes all the way back to 2016. This was 1 year ago, and then, of course, this is where we are now. And so, that does, to me, look pretty bullish just in terms of any kind of a bounce off this level. Even if ultimately it only comes back up to these equal highs here, that's still a long way to go because this is a monthly chart. So, daily chart, anyways, looking for potentially to see a turn. And again, going down to the 4 hour. Of course, these moves down from that lower high are tradable on a shorter time frame. So I do want to point that out. If you like trading on the shorter time frames, you can, say, hey, okay, we put in a lower high here. I want to pick up this move down and trade it on the way down, just understanding what the bigger picture is. And that's fine. Um, you know, and you can even use this if you're trading on the daily chart to say, okay, at what point do I want to feel like the uptrend is resuming on the daily chart? Well, what catches my eye immediately is right here. So if this turns and starts trading back up again, and we take out this 4 hour structural level because this led to a new low, then that probably is a good sign that the uptrend is resuming. And if we go to the daily chart, you can see that line right there on the daily chart. Okay, right here. And so, um, you probably would get a signal on the stochastic RSI even before it gets there. But this would be a nice confirmation that if it breaks through here and you get a daily close above this level right here, which was that 4 hour structure level we drew, then that would probably confirm the uptrend. So, but you have to respect that right now the price is going down. Excuse me, is going down. So we don't want to jump the gun on that. We want to just let it play out. And but just so if you are trading it on the shorter time frames, short, just again, keep in mind that we are still heading down here, and you need to keep that in mind. So before you decide you want to take any long positions. All right. So take a quick look at the other markets. Rice is continuing to go down, and I really kicked myself. I didn't take any of these. I really haven't really found a place to jump in here, at least from a Heikin-Ashi standpoint. The price has just been screaming down. There hasn't even been any bullish Heikin-Ashi candles. Now, on regular candlesticks, if we go to the 4 hour chart, we did have the last entry was probably yesterday. We had this 4 hour candle pullback right here, and then today we're down. So that was our last potential entry to go short on a shorter time frame. Was probably yesterday, um, during the well, actually, this was during the overnight session because this is 8 p.m. on my terminal. So this was during when the market reopened last night. There was a potential there to continue the short positions. So there it is with the regular candlesticks continuing to go down, and the daily, even with regular candlesticks, is still very bearish. And so we'll see. Again, I always point back to these this structural lows on the monthly chart. Again, looking left, you can see that this area, I've talked about this about a million times now. So not that there are not lower prices below here, but this is just an area to watch very closely to see if price actually can make it down. But even if it just comes down and retests this area, that still would be a pretty big fall. Um, Soybean oil continues to churn higher. It tried to go higher today. I didn't trade this. I didn't really like the looks of this. This candle was looking really bullish for a while. You can see it's pulled back off the lows, and the stochastic RSI really has not given a signal here. So I'm actually happy I didn't take this. I'm still bullish in this market. Uh, pretty clearly, up until at least this level right here on the monthly chart, as a potential management area. So that could go on for a while. This could take another month to get up to this level. So I am still bullish, but there's no trade to me right now on this at all. So I'd like to see a little bit better pullback, but still bullish. Um, Soybeans, we're sitting at a daily high pretty much. You can see prices running into trouble here up this old daily high. Again, if we zoom out a little bit, still looks pretty bullish overall. This is the weekly chart. Still looks pretty bullish, but obviously we're seeing a reaction off this area. Looking left, this also was a previous support area. So probably we'll see a deeper pullback here. Maybe this is it. I don't know. Again, it tried to go higher when the market opened today, and it's pulled back off those highs. So um, I would prefer to see maybe a little bit more pullback. Um, but if not, if I miss it, then and it breaks through this high, then that's fine. Then I'll be more comfortable with taking shorter pullbacks if we can get through this high, because I certainly think there's more upside potential. All right. Soybean meal again, just kind of churning around at these highs the last several days. But we did have this really big bullish monthly candle pullback. It looks high, looks pretty bullish. So overall, still pretty bullish on this market. Uh, but again, from a standpoint of entries, it's really been wild. Here's the 4 hour chart. You can see this just whipsawing around in here. This is just kills you if you get into trades. And I did, take a hit on a couple of these where it just whipsaws around. You have these huge candles run back up to highs and then, big pullbacks again. So I'd like to see this straighten out before I, you know, think about getting back into this. But overall, still bullish in this market. Corn continues to do nothing. It's just churning along here. I talked about the commitment of traders suggesting that maybe prices would break and go higher. We haven't seen that yet. This is the daily chart. And again, we just continue to move essentially sideways, maybe a slight downward bias, but still holding all these lows right here. The stochastic RSI is down and oversold, but that doesn't really mean anything to me right now unless we get some real bullish price action. Um, I'm just staying away from corn entirely. All right, and then lastly in wheat, so relatively new market. You see, I'm holding a long in here. It's in drawdown. It may just end up closing this. Um, I took it because again, it's a lot like what we saw in some of these other markets. On the 4 hour chart, we started painting a nice bullish candle, and this looked like a pretty good area to go long. That we had this big run up and a pause, but the stochastic RSI didn't really confirm. So I might be just a little premature. This thing might end up just going down more. So it's in a $75 loss. I may just end up cutting it because at this point, if it hasn't made a move up, it's probably not going to for today. So I may just hold off and then we'll re-examine it and see if we can get this indicator to bend and start turning up and see some, more bullish price action. At least try to get a 4 hour candle to close up near the highs. In which case I'd be more apt to take it. So we'll see. But again, realistically, I'm probably going to cut this one loose. So all right, so that's futures. I'm not going to go into a big any review on Forex. We've been going almost a half an hour now. Plus, I got to run anyway. So, um, but the only thing I wanted to mention on Forex is that I did cut down on the number of pairs I was following. I had like more than 20 before, and I cut the list back because again, mainly I like trading my futures, and I just didn't want to get too bogged down in analyzing like 25 different Forex pairs. And to be honest, like I said, there's a lot of very closely correlated pairs. And so I took a lot of the ones that were what I consider like dual correlation. I took them off here. So I have the euro dollar, for instance, but I don't have the pound US dollar because they're very closely correlated. I also had the dollar Swiss. I no longer, the dollar Swiss is kind of the opposite, inversely correlated to the euro. I took that off. But you can see I still have a pretty good balance of all 8 major currencies, on here. Even ones like pound Swiss and Aussie CAD, I'm a little bit debating whether I even want to keep those. But for now, this is what I'm going with. But like I said, in conjunction with the currency futures, that can, really help me, uh, maybe focus in on what pairs to look for. So again, if that British pound does end up going up, then the British pound futures, then when I look at things like the pound Aussie or the pound Kiwi or the pound Swiss, I say, okay, well, do any of these look bullish, like they're going to start heading upwards? And I can kind of take what's I see on the currency futures and apply it to the spot forex for that particular currency, and look at those pairs, in this case British pound pairs, and see whether there's any opportunity to to go long. Now I don't really see much right now, but the futures market, because it is the futures market as opposed to the spot forex, can potentially be more a little bit of a leading indicator into what the spot market eventually will do, because the futures one can kind of like pulls along the spot market, if that makes sense. So we'll see. But right now, I don't really see anything that's readily available to trade right now in forex. So all right, so I'm going to leave it there, guys. Hope that was helpful. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hope the audio was good on this. I did check it ahead of time, so otherwise I've been talking to myself for 30 minutes. So, all right, so take care, guys. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon.